Hey everyone, welcome back to Town City State. In this video, we're going to be ranking in a tier list the US's 24 twin cities. If you're unfamiliar with the term, twin cities are a geographical phenomenon consisting of two neighboring cities that grow into a single, narrowly separated urban area over time. Think Minneapolis, Minnesota, and St. Paul, or Fort Myers, Florida, and Cape Coral. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. I'm going to go at random here. So I think the first one I'll pick is, Texarkana, Arkansas, and Texarkana, Texas. I think I'm going to place this. Oop, there we go. I'm going to place this one in a B tier. Honestly, I'm going to show a picture of every one of the Twin Cities, just so you have a general lay of the land. But I think this one is a pretty cool pairing. They share a downtown, which is kind of what you want in a Twin City. I mean, that is just quintessential Twin City to share a downtown, and in different states, that's honestly really cool. So I'm going to give the nod to Texarkana and Texarkana in the B slot. Downtown is cool. It's artsy. Have a lot of vacancies. But as a whole, it's a solid B. Okay, so the next one we'll do is let's do Fort Collins and Loveland, Colorado. This is going in S tier. These are a great group of towns right here. Same state, pretty close together. One of them is a beautiful college town. That's Fort Collins, and both have great downtowns right by the mountains. Just overall, really good collection of Twin Cities over there in Colorado. Let's do. Next up, we will do. Should I be going in order? I don't know. Let's do. Yeah, let's do Hartford. I think I'm going to put it in D. Hartford and New Britain, Connecticut. Not a lot going on that's really too special. You know, Hartford's just one of those big Connecticut cities. I feel like Connecticut as a whole is very overlooked as a state, and kind of for good reason, unless you're around the coast. The two towns are just kind of meh. You know, it's not Stamford or New Haven or anything like that. I am in the population of people that definitely consider Connecticut's coast to be miles ahead of what's going on inland. But I don't know. I haven't been in a while. Let's do. Okay, let's do Fort Myers next. I said in the beginning, so why not just do it now? I think I'm going to put this one in C. They're not really twin cities. I think categorizing them as twin cities kind of barely works. I took most of these off of the Twin Cities definition Wikipedia page and compiled the best ones that I think fit the Twin Cities more or less, fit the definition more or less. They kind of barely work as twin cities, and on their own, Fort Myers is like an A tier city, and Cape Coral is kind of like an F tier suburban sprawl city. The downtown, there's not much of a downtown. Fort Myers' downtown is definitely A tier, so I think the C tier rating is fair, kind of a middle ground for both of those. Barely twin cities, but I think they count on this list. So next up, let's just keep it in Florida. Let's do Fort Lauderdale and Miami. And I think, obviously, wow, look how this worked out. An even spread for the first, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fort Lauderdale and Miami, I mean, what has not been said about these cities, two of Florida's great coastal towns. They're awesome individually, and combined as a metro, they're a powerhouse. I kind of took some points off. They're not in the S tier, even though these two cities on their own are great, because they're just far enough to where kind of calling them twin cities is a little bit of a cheat code. They're intertwined within their transit and car scores and everything like that. And they each have their own airports, which, again, some points off. But I think I can't put them anywhere below A, really. I mean, it's Fort Lauderdale and Miami. Come on. Let's keep it in Florida. Let's go St. Petersburg and Tampa. I think these group will put them in B. My reasoning here is, it's a hot take, but I think Tampa is kind of overrated. Maybe that's just me hating their hockey team, but I think Tampa's a little bit overrated. I think the coolest thing about the twinness of these cities are the amount of bridges connecting the two. St. Pete is, a really cool historical town, kind of teetering on the tourist trap status. But I don't have the heart to give it that yet. So it's still a great city in my opinion, but Tampa's a little bit overrated. But overall, I think the area as a whole, the twin cityness, the connectiveness, I can't not give it lower than a B. So we're gonna go B on that one. Let's go to Illinois. Let's go to Champaign and Urbana, Illinois. And if you know anything about these cities, you got to put them in A. I mean, this is kind of a college town twin city in the middle of nowhere in Illinois, so it's an easy A. I mean, they really pull it off well, as you can see here in the photo. Even the university is split between the twin cities, so that's really nice to see. And I like how they didn't incorporate into each other. One is not so bigger than the other, so they're just keeping to themselves stubbornly and splitting a university in the cost. Which I think is a unique facet that will help, if there's some sort of uniqueness or quirk in these twin cities, I think that definitely helps. And the university and the surrounding areas have all that Midwest college town charm that you know and love. So I think going A here. These are two strong twin cities, and I think in the same vein, I mean I gotta put Bloomington and Normal, Illinois, also an A tier, also another college town. It's only fair if I give this one the A2. I don't know what it is with Illinois and middle of nowhere college town twin cities. It's kind of an interesting quirk, but it's kind of an awesome geographical phenomenon that nobody really talks about in the U.S. geography YouTube space. So okay. Let's see what we have next. We'll just pick. Let's do Waterloo. Yeah, Waterloo and Cedar Falls. I think I'm going to give these two another A, actually. The A is kind of getting a little crowded here. I like these two cities. They each have their own distinct downtowns on the river, but they share suburbs and an airport. So I think it's a great job to these two twin cities here in Iowa. Okay, let's do Houghton, Wisconsin, and Hancock, Michigan. Where am I going to put these? I think I'm going to put them in B. Here, you'll see all the photos. I think these two river-adjacent twin cities are kind of sort of cheating. I think a lot of the river-adjacent twin cities are kind of sort of cheating. But I just got to give it, the B tier to these two north cities in Michigan and Wisconsin. Just because, they are interconnected. They are twin cities, even though the rivers, it's kind of cheating. They're nice enough cities on their own, and I think they do well together as twin cities. And let's stay in that area of the country here and give Duluth, Minnesota, and Superior, Wisconsin. I think I'm going to give them a C. Yeah. Again, they're separated by water and brought together by bridges. And I do struggle to call these twin cities, but I won't completely flunk them, honestly. They don't bleed into each other at all, really, and they're pretty self-sufficient on their own. The only place these two cities meet are via the bridge, and even the downtowns are really disconnected and kind of far from each other. So yeah, I think the B slot or the C slot is good for those too. Now on a complete flip side, I think I'm gonna grab these two Minnesota cities and yoink them right up in the S tier. I mean, do I have to say more? They're the most popular twin cities, the quintessential twin cities, and they pretty much do everything right as a twin city. They're very interconnected. They're both, really big cities. A lot of companies like to headquarter themselves there, most notably Target. A lot of people moving. It's a growing area. And it just got, that Minnesota charm to these cities. And I think these cities do it well. I think it's kind of crazy how you can have two cities that are so big, so close to each other, and not being like a natural population hotspot like Southern California or South Florida over here. So yeah, I'm going to give them the S nod, S tier. Yeah, absolutely. Let's head over to Raleigh-Durham. Let's do Raleigh-Durham. You'd think they go in S because they're always kind of referred to as Raleigh-Durham, but yeah, I'm not even going to put them in A. I'm going to put them in B. Might be a hot take, But honestly, they're barely close enough to be considered on this list. But they do share an airport and suburbs, and are great cities on their own. But together they, you know, yeah. Should I put them in A? I don't know. They kind of form that strong Raleigh-Durham connection. Um, but honestly, I feel like you never hear about these cities on their own. So, which is, something a lot of the A tier cities have in common, I think, so far. So I'm going to put them in B, They need to do more individually. And like I said before, I would put them in A, but they're a bit too far to be, considered true twin cities like we have over here and over where is it over here. So yeah, I think B is good for now. Let's just keep it in that area. Let's go Winston-Salem and Greensboro, and let's put them in B. Yeah. Fun fact: Winston-Salem was actually a pair of twin cities before got combined into one. I'm not sure when that happened, but this is a fun fact. These two cities were actually separate at one point, and I think Winston-Salem and Greensboro are pretty sipler to Raleigh-Durham, where they're not doing enough on their own. They're kind of a metropolis instead of a twin city. So I think it's good to slot them in the B for now. Yeah. Let's get going. Let's get a good one here. Let's do Fargo. Yeah, Fargo and Moorhead, Minnesota. Okay. Even though there's a river separating the two, it's like the river isn't even there. There's just so much connection, and these two cities really bleed into each other in the downtowns, and they're in different states too. You love to see it. Plus, Fargo is a great growing city. I think it might be like top 10 or top 15 fastest growing cities, from the 2020 census to the, estimated 2023 totals. I actually saw that fact earlier today. So, great growing city, pair of cities, twin cities. And yeah, let's slot that up in the S tier. That's definitely a good idea. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's keep it in the state, or in the states, I guess. I think these will go in B though. I like these cities. Typically, I wouldn't add a city and its east or west named counterpart, but I actually like East Grand Forks on its own. It kind of has its own thing going on. It's much smaller than Grand Forks. But it's kind of has its own thing going on, and I really like what these two are doing as twin cities over here. Okay, so let's continue on to let's go Cincinnati. Yeah, Cincinnati is up next, and I think we're going to slot that in the C category here. I don't really know how to feel about this one. As you can see, Cincinnati is like way bigger than Covington. But Covington is just big enough to where I think it's like not totally lost on Cincinnati's, bigness. It's not really a suburb. The river is separating it, which I will dock some points off of. One's a huge town. One's kind of a smaller, little bit of a suburb. So, that airport is famously like the Cincinnati, I think, International Airport. It's actually located in Covington. So I guess it's a nice quirk. I won't fail it. I won't fail it like I did over here and some that we have coming up. Let's see. Portland, Oregon, and Vancouver, Washington. Easy A. I think some people might say it's B, because they're kind of far from each other. But honestly, downtown Portland is not that far from Vancouver. And you get a lot of people switching between the towns for work and life. Oregon, I think, famously has no sales taxes, and Washington, I think, famously has no income taxes. So a lot of, culturally and economic bleeding in these two cities. Not usually known as being twin cities, but, I think just the tax workarounds alone, you can call them twin cities, and they are very close to each other and connected by bridges. So let's put that in A. I think it's time to get to the big dog here. Bristol, Tennessee, and Bristol, Virginia. If you guys don't know, I'm going to fill you in. This is one of the coolest towns. One of the coolest towns. There's only one town on this list. In terms of oddities, it's one town. It's one town, but it's split between two cities. So I mean, I'm trying to find a comparison, but it's not. These two states literally share Bristol. It's right on the road, and in fact, the roads. If you split the road into two, on one side of the road is Tennessee, on one side of the road is Virginia, and you have a lot of weird things. Like I believe that in Virginia, either medical or recreational marijuana is legal, and in Tennessee, it's like not legal at all. So you can buy and use on this side, and on this side, it's totally you'll get arrested if you cross the street with it. So downtown Bristol, a lot of quirks, a lot of fun, and I actually hope to make a visit over here one day soon because this is an interesting town, geographically and everything. So definitely an S tier town, as you can see on the map that I just showed you. It's got its quirks, and I think that earns it the S spot. So let's finally do Allentown and Bethlehem. I know you guys have been staring at it because it's the first one here, and I think this one deserves. I think this one deserves a C. These two standalone cities, they have the suburbs kind of bleeding into each other. The two cities on their own, I mean, nobody ever talks about Allentown and Bethlehem. They're kind of mid on their own. And, again, they're barely big enough. I think Allentown's the bigger one and Bethlehem is almost suburby, but they're kind of similar size. I added it to this list because they do have their own downtown. So at least you got that going for them. But, I think C is good. They're kind of just average cities on their own. And so, yeah, C together. So let's go up to, let's put an A. Let's do Dallas-Fort Worth. I know, maybe a hot take because Dallas-Fort Worth, DFW, might be S. But it's basically a megalopolis at this point. I think you have Dallas, I want to say 7th biggest city in the U.S., and Fort Worth, I want to say it's like the 11th or 12th. I was looking at population statistics today, actually, for a separate video, and so this is why I'm able to pull this knowledge off of my head just off of a whim. But yeah, I think Dallas-Fort Worth earns the A spot. It's basically a megalopolis, not really twin cities. They're definitely close together, and the suburbs do blend into each other. Of course, why I'm giving it the A. You've got Arlington and so on, but I just don't know. It's DFW. It's an A. I can't give it the S. It doesn't have a special quirk or anything really. It's an A tier. It's like this. It's like Fort Lauderdale, Miami, but sharing an airport. I don't know. Should I give it an S? No, I'll keep it an A. Okay. Let's do Midland and an Odessa. Let's get this one out of the way. This is an F tier. F tier. Twin Cities. I mean, it's got mid in the name, guys. It's mid. Two bland cities that really aren't twins. They aren't really thriving on their own, and being near each other really isn't showing any economic benefits. I think this is, you've got a big exodus on this part of the country. It's slowly dying, for good reason or for bad reason. It remains to be seen. But yeah, Midland and Odessa, definitely an F tier twin cities. I mean, they're barely close enough anyway, so. Okay, let's finish this off strong. I think we've got our two last towns are pretty good on their own. So let's do this one, Neenah and Menasha, Wisconsin, and I think we're gonna put this in the A. Yeah, they're small towns, but they have a lot of connectivity, as you can see on the Google Maps imagery. So I think you don't have to be a big city to get on the A list, and I think this one proves it. Two great cities on their own, small towns, but still great in Wisconsin. So, yeah, we'll slot that in the A tier. And then Bluefield and Bluefield. I believe this is the same situation as these over here, but I'm going to put it in A. It's not as quirky, but I do like that, the hot-headedness of this pairing. Oh, I remember. Yeah. I'm just remembering the Google imagery I pulled in earlier. It's unlike Bristol because Bristol's just one city. These are two separate Bluefields. Yeah, so there's one of these and then one of those, but they're separated by a state border. So it's kind of stubborn of these states that they each one of their own Bluefield. unlike these where they're sharing a Bristol, these two, West Virginia and Virginia, and of course these states don't really historically like each other. um, West Virginia seceded from Virginia due to the Civil War, I believe. But yeah, I'm all for, the hot-headedness. I think it may deserve S tier on its own, but I'm just going to give it A because, it is. These are not big towns. These are not very notable towns. But I like to imagine back in the 1900s or something that there was just one Bluefield. But then, on that Civil War split, they, each town kind of wanted to keep their Bluefield. And so they have their own downtowns and are roughly the same size. And I wish I knew more of the history, but yeah, a lot of drama over here. And I'm kind of for it. So I'm going to give them the A nod. But yeah, so that's the tier list. I think it's pretty good. I think we've got all the bases covered, including these two. And I think this is a fair ranking. Let me know if you'd change any positions. I'm willing to kind of put this over here and put this over here and maybe put a couple of these lower, and maybe this deserves lower than I'm giving it, and maybe this deserves higher. So does this. I don't know. I haven't been to a lot of these places, but I've also been to here, and probably a couple other ones. So yeah, that was the list. Thank you everyone for watching. If you want to see more of these tier list type videos, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And yeah, Town City State signing off.